Hey guys, Star here, and I know this may seem absolutely crazy for me to say, but maybe not, but I actually got to see the Five Nights at Freddy's 2 movie early, and I am really excited to kind of sit down and try to talk to you about it in like a non-spoiler free way. Although I can't necessarily guarantee that this video will be spoiler free, so if you want to watch the movie, please do not watch this video because I really want to try my hardest to not do any type of spoilers or anything and so on. But it's oh god, I'm so fried right now. So it's like 1:30 in the morning on the 5th, the day that the movie is supposed to come out, but I actually got to watch it on the 4th because the theater that I go to allows me to watch. Sorry, I drank so many beatboxes. Um, but my movie allowed us to watch it on the 4th, a day early, and I gotta admit, compared to the first film that came out in 2023, I really, really like this film. And obviously, there were, of course, issues with it because this is Scott Coffin we're talking about. He is not a good writer. I do not want to hear anything in the comments possibly defending this guy. I don't care if he wrote the outro to Five Nights at Freddy's 6. That doesn't make him a good writer at all, considering all of his projects in books that he has worked on. I have half the ticket right now in my hands. This is so fucking cool. But I watched it early, and I will admit that if you are a fan of this series, you will definitely like this film. Um, Obviously, people gaslit themselves into liking the first film, and no, me saying that the first film was bad is not a biased review. I didn't like Mario movie. I liked the Sonic one because it was actually pretty accurate for the most part to the games, and Assassin's Creed was dog shit. The original Mortal Kombat films were dog shit. Gran Turismo was mediocre at best. Uncharted was decent. I've watched a lot of video game films, and I'm not going to treat this one any different, okay, to the films that I have watched. But as I mentioned, I am really happy that I watched this film. My friends that I were with didn't like it for various reasons, and I will discuss some of those reasons. But I actually liked it because a few days ago, because this is not a spoiler, a few days ago, it came out that Scott was actually writing the film catered to the fans, which is something that should have happened in the first place, by the way. Something like this should. Sorry, guys. The first film should have been like a somewhat adaptation of the game. No, you fucking chuds in the comments don't have to say, oh, well, it'd be boring if he was spending 5 nights at Freddy's. First off, it's in the name of the movie, okay? And second off, alright, no, it wouldn't. And three, they didn't need to do that, which they didn't do that, and that's fine. But with this movie, this feels like that it takes what is based off the game and also pushes it, okay, to what like a movie adaptation would be like, where the movie is doing its own thing, specifically compared to the game. And I'm more than fine with that. Mario movie did it. Mario movie barely did, but the Sonic movies actually do that. And that's what's so good about the Sonic movies. And for me to watch FNAF 2 and for it to be semi, at least semi lore accurate to what is going on in the film, is awesome. There's a lot more horror in the film, which I feel like is something that the first film drastically needed. I felt like it needed significantly more horror, and we didn't get that significantly more, but we got a good portion of horror. And I felt like that, yeah, it was definitely scarier. Obviously, the fun little Easter eggs are here, and I don't know why I don't care about Corey Kenshin, although I will say that his appearance in the second movie, it is kind of funny. It is funny, and I feel like that in a way you get a little bit of Scott's type of humor in the film, whilst also getting a lot more like horror-y things in it, and it's like, whoa, this is so cool to see that, like this is something that should have been there. Obviously, some of the scenes were off screen, the deaths, and like, we got a little bit more to see with that. Obviously, it felt like that the film kind of in a way did also follow the first film, where some things carried order like over, like certain scenes carried over, not specifically within the story. And obviously, we got to see like a few other goofy things, and then we got to see, which by the way is already a spoiler, we got to see Henry in the film, which also in a way kind of felt like a disappointment, because although it was cool to see Henry, I feel like there was a little bit more that could have gone into that scene that was kind of accurate to the lore. And then, at the end we also got like a teaser for the third film, which I'm finally happy that, like, instead of it doing its own thing, which like the first movie did, where it's just a bunch of random bullshit, it it does something for this, like it's finally kind of setting itself up to what the games were like. And that excited me so much to see that, like, it was finally going in there. Now, some of the negative things that I feel like I can say is that, during the first part of the film, like the first 10 minutes, the writing was really bad. And I felt like a few other things were explained. There was also an error where, for some reason, the movie takes 1 year after the original film, but for some reason there's like this error where it says it takes place 20 years later, and I was like so confused. But it was a really decent film. um it was like weird in certain aspects, and I'm not angry about that in the slightest. Like, I still was able to enjoy the film a lot. Like, I'm not going to sit down, I'm not going to lie. I still enjoyed the film a lot, and it put like a genuine smile on my face to be able to kind of sit down and watch that live. Obviously, they had the FNAF fan music, and like the scene where we get to see, like, again, I don't want to do spoilers, but like the post credit scenes where we get to see that one particular guy. Oh my god, that was so, like, oh my god, dude, that put like an actual smile on my face. Like, dude, that was fucking awesome. Like, I'm not gonna, I gotta put this movie ticket on my shelf, but wow. Man, that really put like a smile on my face, like watching that movie. And that's what I like about this specific movie, is that it finally feels like, okay, you fucked up on the first one. I really didn't like the first one. And I watched the first one at least 5 times, and like, yeah, it was cool. I'm not gonna lie, there was a lot of cool things in there. There of course was like, if you ever watched the first film, there's a Sparky and Shadow Freddy Easter egg. You get another Easter egg that is similar to this one. If you guys have played FNAF 2, you know about Shadow Bonnie, so that was really cool to see. So there's like fun Easter eggs, and there's fun things. I felt like the overall story was, I would say, decent. I don't want to say that it was anything crazy. I felt like a lot of the dialogue was very weird, and some, like my friends, like they somewhat know about the games, and they were telling me, well, you don't understand what's going on, but I didn't feel like that at all. Like I felt like when I watched the film, I genuinely understood what was going on in every scene compared to what was going on in the original movie, because nothing made sense in the original movie because it wasn't based off the games. It was just some random story Scott wanted to tell. And then we get to this point, and obviously the movie, understanding that the movie is kind of doing its own thing, but also following for somewhat, for the most part, the game, it was still very cool to see something like that. And I'm not going to pretend as if it wasn't like that. Wow. I was like amazed watching that film. That really just blew my mind. Just watch, not really. Maybe I'm over exaggerating, but I feel like it was a good film. I feel like, you see Rotten Tomatoes giving it a 14. You see other, like IGN giving it a 3. I don't really care what they have to say, because whenever it comes to a decent movie, they're always going to downplay it. But I feel like with this movie, I feel like Scott did a decent enough job to pass this off as, yeah, this is actually a pretty decent film. This is actually something that I want to watch. So I will say, if you guys do plan on watching this film at any point at all, whether you're watching it for free or anything, I do feel like that you should have some expectations for this movie. I may not personally know what you expect to see out of it, but I felt like it was decent. Like again, I feel like that for what this is, I feel like that understanding what it is and how this is going along to move in the story. In some ways, yeah, it did feel quite underwhelming, but in other ways, it felt like it was fulfilling what I have kind of been wanting for a Five Nights at Freddy's movie. Well, obviously that's not true, but the certain aspects from the game do translate very well to a movie. And that is something that I feel like I could sit down and at least appreciate with something like this film. And what I will say is that I think that, if you guys do plan on watching it at any point in time, to enjoy it, because I do feel like that this is a decent film that you yourself can sit down and truly enjoy. And, if you don't like it, that's perfectly okay. I don't blame you for not liking it if it doesn't live up to your standards of what you would consider to be a FNAF project. And that is perfectly okay. But I am very happy to have watched this film compared to the first one, because again, I feel like the first one was awful. I didn't like it, and I don't feel like getting into explaining on why I feel like the first one was a bad movie. There were several things, including it not being lore accurate in the slightest, and it just being very confusing. But for this one, it feels like they kind of got their act together, cleaned up a bunch of ideas they could have had, and implemented the mistakes that he made from the first film into the second game decently well. I feel like it was kind of implemented again, like just like decently, but at the same time, I do wish that there were some other things that were changed around a lot more. For this specific movie, but I still feel like that it was enjoyable, and I would put it on, I would say, like the high low tier of enjoyable. So yeah, no, I do feel like it is a lot better of a movie than I kind of initially had expectations for. And something like that I am genuinely really, really glad about that, because a format like this works, again, so much better compared to whatever the hell Scott was doing. Like this format just it works. It works, and that is something that I am very happy with, and I am very sure that, again, if you have the expectations that it's kind of lore accurate, but it's a movie, so it does its own thing, that you will be satisfied enough to enjoy this film. So with that, make sure you guys like and subscribe. If you watched the movie already, or if you have not, feel free to come back and feel free to leave a comment and tell us, what you think about this movie, because I genuinely do think that this is a very cool movie. So with that, I will see you guys later.